Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on all the accommodation that here at Queen's we have to offer you. My name is Donna. I am from the Domestic Recruitment Department, and I would just like to introduce Michelle Carson, who is from our Accommodation Department, and she is the Allocation and Bookings Coordinator. So she is very well versed on all the various accommodation that we have to offer here. So I'm just going to pass over to Michelle now and let her take you through her presentation. We will open up the chat at the end of the webinar just for any questions that you might have. So please feel free at that point to ask them and we'll answer them all as best we can. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. You're all very welcome. As Donna said, my name is Michelle Carson and I am the Allocation and Bookings Coordinator at Queen's Accommodation. So it's my job to make sure that everyone gets allocated a room and make sure that everyone is happy in accommodation. I suppose the first question that a lot of people ask is why should we stay in Queen's Accommodation? We are amongst the most affordable accommodation in the UK. We have a choice of housing locations, so we do have some 2 city centre properties as well as our main campus on the Malone Road at BT9. At the moment, we have over 3,400 bed spaces, and there are a range and different types of accommodation within that. So we do have, for any students that have families, we can accommodate that as well. So we do have something that fits everybody's needs and hopefully everyone's budget. There are some lifestyle options available. So those lifestyle options are single sex, quiet living and no alcohol. And there is a question on the application that covers that. And as I mentioned, we do have some family accommodation options available. So in terms of locations for postgraduate students, Willow Walk would be the first one. Willow Walk is based at Elms BT9. It's purpose-built accommodation, so they are all self-contained, so you do have your own front door. We are around a 15-minute walk to the main campus. The accommodation there is made up of studio, 1, 2, 3 and 4 bedroom apartments. There is standard accommodation which is available in Mount Charles, College Gardens and Grant House. Just as part of that, we have an active residential life programme. So there are activities that go on with accommodation that you're all welcome to participate in. And we offer an all-inclusive price. So I will expand on that. You also have the option of our city centre accommodation. So this is accommodation that we opened 2 years ago. One location is Elms BT1 College Avenue, and the second location is Elms BT2, and that is McClintock Street. Again, it is a 15-minute walk to the main campus from either of those locations. So BT1 is a 12-storey development and BT2 is a 15-storey development. They do have a choice of different accommodation within that. So we offer studio apartments, and then we have cluster flats that are 3, 4, 5 and 6 bedroom apartments that you would have your own ensuite bedroom, and then you share the kitchen and common room with your other housemates. And again, the same residential life programme, and it is an all-inclusive price. So that's just the ensuite room. And the kitchen and common rooms in the cluster flats. If you're in a flat that is 4, 5 or 6 bedroom, you do have double appliances. So you would have double fridges and double cookers and ovens as well. And that's just some images of the studio apartment. So as I mentioned, it is an all-inclusive price. So what does that mean for you? It means that all of your utilities are included. So that is your hot water, which is instant hot water. You also have controlled heating times. You have a television in the kitchen or in your living area. Any student that stays in Queen's accommodation does get a free off-peak membership to Queen's Sport, and that also does allow you, excuse me, access to the gym at BT1. You get a contents insurance policy. So we have an insurance company, and as part, when you pay your fees, you're automatically covered for the contents within your apartment. There are options to upgrade that if you do have anything that is of high value in your apartment. The Wi-Fi is 250 megabytes, and that is wired internet and Wi-Fi in the bedrooms and the common rooms. And that is, again, that's included in your price. The lifestyle options that I've mentioned, you get the support of the residential life team, and it's weekly events, trips, and then they would signpost to support services within the university if that's what's required. Reception at Elms BT9 is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We also have a safety team that work there throughout the night. So after 11 o'clock, it is a secure site. So all you have to do is show identification, and we give you a look for your key to say that you do live with us, so you can get access in and out at any time of the day or night. We arrange our payment plans around you and around what suits you. So if you're making your application and there's maybe not a payment plan on there that you think will work for you, our residential fees team will put something in place for you, and we'll be able to help you with that. The city centre accommodation, the only thing slightly different is that reception is open until just 10 p.m. in the evening. There is the safety team presence after that, but in terms of reception staff, they leave then at 10 p.m. Everything else is the same as I mentioned previously. Just to expand on the safety element, we do have, as I mentioned before, we do have, every site is secure after 11, but for the city centre, you can't get in through the door of the city centre properties unless you use your key fob. So we do have a secure door access system. In BT9, it's quite a big site, but our safety team do patrol the area just to manage any noise or any antisocial behaviour so that it's managed correctly. We do offer you locked bike shelters, and as I said, the insurance is provided by Ensley. So just on the residential life team then, we have residential life coordinators that are based in each area. We have 2 in Elms BT9, and we have 1 each in BT1 and BT2. They are supported by residential assistants who are students who are employed by us, basically as the first point of contact for anyone that has any issues. So we offer the residential assistants free accommodation, and they then offer us 15 hours of work per week. So they have to check the fire blankets and the fire extinguishers in the kitchen and common rooms throughout accommodation. So that's one of their tasks. But they then go on the weekly trips. They will man the coffee bars. So there's a coffee bar in each area. So Elms BT9, BT1 and BT2. And the coffee bars are open each evening from 5 o'clock until 10 o'clock. And they serve free tea and coffee. So that's an opportunity for students not only to speak to RAs, but also to make new friends and to meet other people. Last year in accommodation, we had a range of 70 different nationalities. So one of the events that they will do is that they will, they'll do maybe an evening where each nationality will bring a different dish. They'll cook a dish and bring it over, and they'll let everyone taste, what is traditional in their country for food. And that's something that proves really, really popular. And that is across all students. That's something that postgraduate and undergraduate students would participate in. Just in terms of what happens next, our applications are open and they are available on our website. They have been open from January. For first year postgraduate students and international students, you are guaranteed accommodation, but not necessarily your first preference. So we do try as much as possible, but there are times whenever there are certain room types that are more in demand than others. We do start allocating from the 13th of August. That might change. We might bring that forward this year just because we're wanting to plan and make sure that we have everything in place just with the current conditions. And what I would say is just to make sure that you put an email address on that you have access to. We send the accommodation offer to you via the email that you provide on your application. So we would just recommend that that's something that you have access to all of the time. Once we send you an offer for accommodation, you have 2 days in which to respond. So you can either accept the offer. If you decline the offer, you accept the offer and you pay the £300 deposit to guarantee, and that's you entering into your contract. Okay, that's really the only other thing I would say is that we are on Facebook and we are on Twitter. Following us on Facebook, anything that major updates we always post on Facebook and on our website. So it will also, if you go on there, it'll give you some information. You can look back on some of the events that we have held just to give you an idea of what we actually, what we do throughout the year. Okay, so that's me done. So if anyone has any questions, as Donna said, if she'll open the chat now, and if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to try and answer them for you.
Thanks very much, Michelle. Yes, everyone, the chat is now open, so please feel free if you have any questions. We will try and answer them as best we can. Okay, Michelle, we have a question just come in from Jess. So she's just asking, if you're staying in Mount Charles, do you still have access to the reception and safety team, the resident life programme that's in place?
Yes, you do, Jess. So Mount Charles is obviously off-site accommodation. It is, they are 3-storey houses. Just off Botanic Avenue. So there is no main reception for Mount Charles, and that's but the safety team, as part of their night routine, do go in and out of Mount Charles as well. They won't necessarily enter the buildings, but they will go into that area and just check and make sure that everything is okay. The residential life programme is available for all students. So there is a website. You get a list of events that are on. They are and trips. The most of the events are free of charge. Some of the trips you will have a small amount to pay, so they are heavily subsidised by the university. And yes, you have access to that. If you have issues, it's BT9 reception that you report to. So normally students would either just ring us if there was anything major that needed reported.
Thanks, Michelle. There's another question here. Jess also asking, if you have an unconditional offer, Will you still get the accommodation offer on August the 13th?
We do tend to look at the unconditional offers around July. So you should expect, if you have an unconditional offer, to receive an accommodation offer before then.
Great. Next question, there's actually quite a few questions coming in. It's relating to the Wi-Fi, actually. Kieran, wondering, I know,
I'm not technical.
Just wondering, is the Wi-Fi not unlimited? You've mentioned that there's 250 megabytes of Wi-Fi, so I would assume in that that just really means the internet speed, is it?
It does mean the internet speed, yes.
Okay. And then there's a question actually wondering, will there be any discount for accommodation this year? So that's something we know at this stage.
Yeah, there won't be any discount on rates. The rates will stay the same. And in fact, our rates haven't increased for the past 2 years. They have stayed the same. What they are, I know that a lot of postgraduate courses have made the decision that it will run January to January. So if you have already applied for accommodation to start in September, you will need to contact us. So what we have put in place is a new 51-week contract that will run from January 2021 to January 2022, and that's to accommodate those courses that have already informed students that they, that it will be changing.
Great, thanks, Michelle. So we've a couple of questions relating to quite practical things. So Guan would like to know, do students have to bring their pillows and bedding, or can that kind of stuff be purchased on site?
It can be. So we do offer a kitchen and bedding pack, and it would basically have all of the bedding that you need, and then one of everything in terms of kitchen items. So yes, that's something that you can purchase whenever you arrive with us.
Great. And would you know, Michelle, is there a kitchen ventilator in the BT1, BT2 studio?
Yeah, so all of the rooms in the city centre have windows, and I know that sometimes studio apartments wouldn't have that. So every apartment has a window, and there is the extractor fan, the kitchen extractor fan, so that if you're cooking, that you can have that on, and it will take any of the smells out of the room. So yes, we do.
Excellent. There's a question there just about sort of contracts. Once you've taken up your room, is there the opportunity to change rooms, or is there a contract of months or weeks, or how tied down are they once they've taken up a room in accommodation?
So the most postgraduate students take a 51-week contract, which runs September to September. Once you accept the room offer that we have sent you and you pay your deposit, that is you entering into that contract. So it doesn't work the same way as it would in the private sector, where you could give a month's notice. It doesn't work the same way as a tenancy agreement. There is an option if you want to be released from your contract. You can fill out some paperwork. That's a decision that's made by the head of accommodation. It's not a decision that I make. If we're fully booked and we have a waiting list, and you decide that living in Queen's accommodation is not for you, there's a high chance that we would release you from your contract, because we would have students waiting to move into accommodation. However, if we don't have that wait list and we don't have that demand, the contract is there and you have already agreed to it. There would be the opportunity to move, certainly. We tend not to facilitate that until the end of October, just really until we get everyone in, because it is a very busy time for us. But certainly we have a waitlist facility. So if there is a particular room type that that you want, and even if you don't get your first preference, whenever we send you the offer, once you accept the offer of that room, we can then put you on a wait list for your preferred option. So it is always possible.
Great, thank you. So there is a bit of flexibility, for them then.
Yes.
So Sasha's wondering here, just she has a conditional offer. Should she wait until she would get her unconditional offer before she applies for accommodation?
No, Sasha, I would advise you to make the application now. Whenever we go to allocate, there's two factors that impact that. The first one is the date that you applied for accommodation, and the second one is when you're accepted on to your academic course. So if you have already made that application for accommodation and when it feeds through to us that you have been accepted, we're then in a position to offer you a room. So we can't offer you that room until you've been accepted. It doesn't cost you anything to make the application because you don't pay the deposit until after you receive the offer.
Great, thank you. And then Kieran is wondering about who would be responsible for the cleaning of common areas, and also does the common areas or do the common areas include washrooms?
So most of our rooms are ensuite, and you are responsible for keeping your room and your ensuite clean and tidy. If you are in BT1 and BT2, you also have the responsibility to clean your kitchen and your common room. And what tends to happen is that the guys that you're sharing with, they come up with a rota. There are notice boards in the kitchen and common rooms and blackboards in some. So, they'll have a day where someone will take out the rubbish. They'll have a day where someone will wash down the side. So it is something that you would be discussing with your roommates. For Willow Walk and Mount Charles, again, you have that responsibility yourself. It really is just the stairwells and the corridors in and out of where you would be staying in Mount Charles that our cleaners would be cleaning. So yeah, I'm afraid a big responsibility for the upkeep is on the students.
No problem. There's just a question there, just a big, obviously because of the pandemic that we are currently experiencing. Is there any kind of extra measures being taken in the accommodation?
Yes, there is. I mean, we have to comply with the government guidelines, and anything that the government put in place, we then communicate to students. I know that one decision that has been made for next year is that standard accommodation. So that's where there are shared facilities. Now, this is more really for undergraduate students than what it would be for postgraduate. So they're going to reduce the number of students that are allocated to a floor, but students that have their own ensuite, it will be a case of managing, and the responsibility is really on the student to comply with the procedures. We will communicate what the procedures are, and to be honest, they're changing. I mean, they're changing nearly on a daily basis for everyone. But yes, and if, for example, you feel that you have symptoms, you contact the NHS. If they tell you to self-isolate, you can do that. But what we would ask is that you would let us know if that is the case. If you are self-isolating, we would like to know that. And if there's, we can certainly help in terms of bringing you food or bringing you anything that you need during that time.
That's great, thank you. There's just another question there about hearing about successful applications for accommodation. They maybe just missed that. Would you mind just reiterating then just when students will hear if their application for accommodation has been successful?
So if you have an unconditional offer, we will start to look at unconditional offers from mid-July. So you should, and again, it's a manual process, so it does take us a while to work through it. If you have a conditional offer, it will be mid-August before you receive anything from us in terms of offers for accommodation. What I would say is don't panic and don't worry. We do have plenty of accommodation to go round, as I said, and you are guaranteed accommodation. But I would stress that it is not necessarily your first preference. I know that everyone, and especially postgrads, they all like the studios and the one-bedroom apartments. We are very limited in that type of accommodation, and as you can imagine, it is the most popular. But we will always be able to offer you accommodation.
Great. Samantha there is just wondering if it's possible to pay the deposit to secure the room with an international bank account.
Yes, Samantha, we would recommend that you pay it online with a credit or debit card. The only reason that we recommend that is because when it comes to whenever you're leaving, it's literally a case of us hitting a button and you get that money back straight away into that account. And it just makes the process seamless and quick, both for confirming and for getting the money back. So yes, as long as it has like a Visa or MasterCard, then yes, we can take that.
Great, thank you. We've had a couple of requests, Michelle, for a bit more information about the Mount Charles accommodation. They're just saying that they haven't been able to find as much information on it. Is that something that you could go into now, or is there somewhere on our website that they could go to find a bit more information about that? And I can post in the link.
Yeah, there is a section on our website for Mount Charles. Now, from memory, I'm not too sure whether it actually has a virtual tour. I know that there are virtual tours for some areas, but I'm just not 100% sure, and I will check that after after this finishes, and if there is, I'll send you the link so it can be sent out, Donna. But just to give you a quick overview, so Mount Charles is the name of the street where the houses are. We currently occupy 11 to 19 and also 26 to 50 Mount Charles. So there are other companies that have, that own some of the properties, that have offices and things there. They are 3-story Georgian or Victorian style houses. So you do have the front door into the house, and then the bedrooms are off that. So they are over 3 floors. Most of the bedrooms are on the ground, first and second, and then there's sometimes there would be one room up on the very top floor. You do share shower and toilet facilities, but it would only be with 2 or 3 other students, because we have quite a there's that facility on the ground, the first and the second floor, and again the kitchen and common room is split between ground and first, and then first and second. So there's 2 sets of kitchens and common rooms. Within the bedrooms, they have been converted. The rooms have really lovely, nice high ceilings, so it gives you a sense of good space. We have different room types as well. We have small standard rooms. We have standard rooms. There are some double room options in Mount Charles, but most of them are standard rooms. There is very few of them that have ensuite facilities, and any of the ensuite facilities are the room at the very top, which is on the 3rd floor. Certainly, I know when I get to the top of those stairs, it's a gasp for breath by the time you get there. So that's basically really all the information that I can certainly give. I will look and see if there is something else that I can send out to everyone to give you more information on it.
No, that's great. I think that should hopefully, because someone was actually asking there about the twin rooms and things like that. So hopefully that will have covered off on what the guys are asking here.
Just on the twin room option, for next year, because of social distancing, we are not offering twin rooms. So
Okay.
there would have been that option previously, but just because of the current situation, we've taken that option away.
Okay. Grand, thank you. So we've a couple of questions here about the Willow Walk accommodation. Does the price include bills, and does it have a gym?
So Willow Walk price does include all of your utilities, and that is really within reasonable usage. What we wouldn't want you to do is just go in and because you're, put the heating on. So it is within reasonable usage. We do top it up at the beginning of the year, and because Willow Walk has been open now for 7 years, we would have a good, a good grasp on how much the average apartment uses. So once that, to be honest, if that runs out prior to your contract finishing, we would then be asking you asking the individual students to top it up, purely just because, we would have already had put that, what is included in your fees would already have been used. Willow Walk doesn't have a gym, but from where we are in BT9, we are about a 15-minute walk to the PEC centre. So that would be the most popular option for anyone that's living in Willow Walk or BT9. They would be using the main PEC centre.
Great, thank you. And then one last question here from Samantha, just wondering about the utilities that are available in the kitchens, like blenders, pots, or what do students need to bring, or are they supplied with anything like that?
Obviously, all the main appliances are there. So you do have a fridge, freezer, you do have a microwave, kettle, and a toaster, your cooker, and a grill and oven. In terms of blenders and pots and all of your utensils, you would then have to provide that. And that's I suppose that's a personal thing. A lot of those things. So all of your utensils and your plates are all provided by you. It's mainly just the big appliances that are already in the apartment.
Great, thank you. I said that was the last question, but there's actually one more has come in from Caroline. So we'll we have a couple more coming in actually. She's wondering if a student chooses to have a 39-week contract, can that then be extended if needed?
It can, but what I would recommend is that you take the 51-week contract, and then I would put an early arrival for the week before onto your 51-week contract, Caroline. And the main reason for that is that if you take the 39-week contract, you will have to move. So what normally happens, as you can imagine, once the summertime comes, the number of students that are in-house with us does reduce. For the postgraduate areas, we tend not to, if you're on a 51-week contract, we tend not to move you unless, now next year in Willow Walk, we will be refurbishing some of the apartments. We're not sure what apartments they're going to be yet. It was meant to happen this summer, but because of COVID-19, all of those plans were put on hold. So there will be a number of apartments in Willow Walk that will potentially have to move, but we will let you know if that's the case, probably around Christmas time or maybe just after Christmas time. So for that reason, Caroline, I would still choose the 51-week, and then I can add an early arrival onto your account to arrive on the 14th for the welcome and orientation week.
Great, thank you. And hopefully that will have answered your question, Krister. He was asking for postgrad students, are there contracts from September to September to cover the 3 semesters? But I'm assuming the 51-week contract would do that for them.
Yes, it certainly does.
Brilliant. Well, that seems to be the last of the questions. We can wait a few more minutes, guys, if there's anything else that you want to ask. I'm just going to post in to the chat box here just easy access to those email addresses. If you have any further queries, you can email us afterwards. and I've just posted at the top the web link to the main part of our website where the accommodation is all detailed. I think that seems to have wrapped up the questions. Michelle, thank you very much. That was really informative, and I think everyone will find that really useful.
So, you're very welcome.
Great. So we'll maybe end the webinar now, guys. And if there's anything else, we can stay online here with the chat box and feel free to feed in the questions, and we can come back to you afterwards. But we'll just finish for now. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.